Pickaxe.
I'm laughing because of your stage direction there, Steve. What does that mean? Have you done that before? Is that how you rule your house? Crikey, I better get on with it. Hello, you are listening to the podcast version of this week's One Life Left radio show. I'm Simon Byron.
I am Steve Curran.
That's Steve gesturing with his hands. We've
Ta-da.
been recording with our new software. We were bang on time on that one. I think everybody's going to be happy. We had a guest in this show, Steve.
Well, everyone's going to be happy unless what our guest has just told me by DM is true, which is that he doesn't think his voice was recorded. Because he thinks he joined in producer mode, which is the link that I sent him as a producer. So it's so he can talk in our ears and go, all right, Simon, we've got the guest. The guest is in the room and they're going live in 5, 4, 3, 2, you're live.
Now, some of the radio shows I listen to, you can hear the producer. I mean, Steve right in the afternoon, his producer's talking all the time, isn't it?
Well, yeah, but we're only hearing the producer when the producer wants us to hear him, when they've swapped to the guest mic. And actually, yeah, well, we'll see. You'll find out, listener, in about 25 minutes or so. If you hear us talking to someone, that's Phil, our producer. If you don't hear us talking to someone, that should have been Phil, our producer, and maybe just fill in what you think he said in the gaps.
Oh, that's a shame, because it was nice to have him on the show. I need to say hello to somebody, Steve. I'm going to say hello to Harold. My wife started a new job a few weeks ago, and she works with Harold. And Harold had to take her to one side quite early on in their colleagueness and say, hey, just want to let you know, and I feel like I have to tell you now, I really like One Life Left. And I have to tell you now, otherwise it might be weird. Which is right. It is weird, anybody likes it. Very grateful, Howard. Thank you very much for listening.
It does feel like one of those things you have to declare in job interviews, doesn't it?
Doesn't it?
Just up front, because I don't want this to come to light later.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
thank you for listening, Harold.
Yeah, thank you, Harold.
It warmed my heart to hear that, so thank you.
This is if Harold exists, and this is not just something your wife's cooked up to make you feel better.
Oh, I think me and Harold are going to become friends.
All right, so we should have a guest, though, because that felt really good, having Phil on the show.
It did feel good,
It felt really, really good. Yeah. So that was great, and it seemed to work, except for the fact that it may not have recorded his voice, which is, something we can work on.
But yeah, that means anybody can join live, and they can just drop into the radio show as if, we're in the studio together. So if you would like to be on the show, you'd like to nominate somebody to come on and chat, please email
team@onelifeleft.com. And yeah, it was also good recording at 7:00 on a Sunday evening again, which means we can properly invite people to hear the show recorded live next weekend. So we will be doing it Sunday at 7. We'll have a producer letting you in, giving you access. Not sure whether you'll be able to see us as well. I think you might be able to. And you'll be able to join us for our podcast debrief as well afterwards. So please do. We'll see you at 7 next week.
Good. All right, and thanks to your daughter, Steve, for letting us get through it.
Yeah.
How are things there?
Well, I'm going to go and find out immediately and see what's gone on. But it has been pretty quiet so far. We'll see.
I'm going to go and deal with my daughter too, who has been playing her father-in-law.
All right.
Right. Thanks for listening, everybody. Here's the show.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to One Life Left on Resonance 104.4 FM. We're a video game radio show, and my name is Steve Curran.
Hello, testing, 1 2 1 2. It's Simon Byron here. How are you, Steve?
Simon, you sound beautiful this week.
Do I? We, as we finished recording the show for last week, Steve went, "Oh, meant to mention to you, your mic sounded awful on last week's show. I wish you'd have changed the input for this week's." So it's the first thing I did today. We're now broadcasting with the Rode NT mic, Steve, and this is the third week using this software. I've not noticed this before, but as you started to show off, a little message came up at the top of the screen that said actual recording is higher quality.
That is very similar.
What have they got? Someone standing in for us?
Yeah, I was going to say screenshots are not indicative of actual gameplay. We are a video game radio show. We are going to be talking about video games. That might be the earliest we've ever referenced video games in One Life Left. We have video game letters, video game news, video game reviews coming up later in the show. But yes, Simon, let's catch up. How are you?
I'm good. I was going to say that the earliest we've got to video games because you and I spoke about football before we started the show, so we've got that done.
Out of the
way. I'm good, thank you. It's the start of half-term week. It's our first time going through that, so voyage into the unknown. Kate's in London this evening, gone to a gig. My father-in-law is currently putting my daughter to bed. So I can see from the house that it all appears to be calm. But an hour ago, Steve, it was the most torrential rain and lightning and thunder here that I've ever seen.
Same here.
Honestly, it would have been a danger for me to have gone to the shed in it.
Yeah.
If we were recording an hour earlier.
Super, super extreme here. Very, very noisy. But what I'm worried about, Simon, is that's not going to be the last of the noise tonight, because we are recording for the first time in about a month at 7 p.m. on a Sunday night. We have posted the link in the Discord if anyone wants to join us, and we'll be doing this every week from now on. But that doesn't come without its own risks, because my daughter is being put to bed right now, and she's been appallingly behaved over the last few weeks. It's why we've had to do it on Monday. So it could be that we start to hear screaming in the background very, very soon. So I'm just foreshadowing that. So there's a narrative running through the show, and it means, we can fold that into the content rather than just giving up recording at about 7:15 when the noise is too much.
Whose idea was it to have a child, Steve, out of you and your partner?
Yeah, I would say it's a shared decision.
Was it a moment of passion?
No one's to blame. No one's to blame for the situation that we all find ourselves in. I mean, we would have done it on Monday morning, but we can't because you've got half-term week. So
yeah.
I would say all four of us are to blame for this mess.
Wouldn't change it though, Steve, would we? Wouldn't change it. I actually heard from my other child today. I haven't heard from him all weekend. And he rang just as I was preparing to dish up a delicious roast this evening, Steve. And I was like, "All right, Dexter, how you doing?" He said, "Yeah, all right." I said, "Everything okay?" He's like, "Yeah." "What are you doing?" I went, "Why?" He said, "Well, can you come and pick me up? I want a lift." And that was it. I thought it was lovely to hear from my son. Yeah.
Well, we'll see how lovely it is to hear from my daughter later on the show. But it's been, it's been a pretty difficult week for me. All kinds of things being annoying. The housing situation continues to rumble on. When did I say I thought this might be sorted by? September? We said in June or something. It absolutely isn't. In fact, it's more unsorted than it's ever been right now.
Oh, no.
But also, ended up taking Alice to hospital on Tuesday because she's not been sleeping, and she's been going through the excuses every night. This is a very bad bed. It's too light. I don't know how to sleep. Oh, my tummy hurts.
My ankles hurt was one I've had.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Very itchy. Oh, my ear hurts. My ear hurts. My ear hurts. Oh, of course it does. Anyway, sent home from nursery the next day. Her ear hurts, and then screaming that her ear hurts, and ended up in A&E. Her ear did hurt, it turned out. Don't know if I should feel guilty about this, but she's been put on some antibiotics and everything's fine, except for got back and the boiler broke.
Oh, Steve.
So that was great. Immediately out of my depth in home
exactly.
repair.
So what did you do?
Here's what I did. Panic called plumbers, got quoted the same number from several of them, and picked one, and then he fixed it on Friday.
Okay, so how did you find the plumbers? Did you go through the yellow pages?
Well, Checkatrade, isn't it?
Is it?
I went on Checkatrade.
Right.
I went on Checkatrade, and I'm sure other trade review sites are available, and found some in my local area, but chose to believe the positive reviews. And you know what? It absolutely worked out, aside from the fact it cost me... How much do you think it cost me?
Oh, I dread to think.
New boiler.
Oh, you have to buy a new boiler?
I had to get entire new boiler.
So it's going to be. I've got no idea what's Cockney rhyming slang for $4,000.
It was $3,500.
Was it?
Yeah, but it's done now. The house is warm.
And obviously, that's the house that you're leaving as well.
Yeah. Obviously, I don't want it to be warm. I don't want it to be warm because that's costing me an enormous amount of money as well. Been a challenging week.
I can't remember if I mentioned when water started coming through the kitchen a few months ago. I'd been one of those people that had subscribed to like this insurance where you pay 40 quid a month so that when this happens you don't have to talk to men. And and this one, because I was trying to save a little bit of money, I don't know, maybe get a free meerkat off my last insurance renewal. I'd actually gone down a tier, which meant that it was covered, but I had to talk to the men.
That's not what you pay for.
I don't want to talk to the men. And then it turned out that it was the grouting, Steve. Even though I'd had a look and said I didn't think it was the grouting, the man came round and said it's your grouting. He fixed it, and actually he was the guy that put the shower in when we had the work on the house done. And I said to him, and I didn't mean this, because it was just over a year since he'd put the shower in and the grouting had come away from the wall and was causing the water to run through the kitchen. He came around and sorted it out. So when I said, how much do I owe you? I was expecting him to go, what I wasn't expecting was 80 quid. And can I have it in cash? I said, no, you can't. I'll bax it to you. So at the very least, there'll be some tax paid out of this.
Yeah, I did have a couple of moments where I was invited in to see what a mess the previous people installing the boiler and he said, look at this. Have you ever seen anything like it? And I could honestly say, no, I haven't. I have no idea what I'm looking at, but no, I've definitely never seen anything like it. Anyway, it's all done now. And it's only money, isn't it?
I did wonder why you've just got a vest on.
A sun hat and a cocktail.
Exactly. Lovely.
All that is just an extensive lead-in to say, Simon, I've not got any news stories this week.
Okay, I've got 4.
Brilliant. Let's do the news.
One life left. Video game news with Anne Scantleberry.
Video Games Chronicle.
Hold on.
Wrote.
No. What about it's 7:07 on a...
I don't know what time it is.
Well, it's 7:08 now.
Yeah, now, but not now. Not when this is airing.
Well, it will be 7:08, won't it, on a Monday?
It's the current time where you are on whatever day you're listening to on Resonance 104.4 FM. I'm Simon Byron, and here is the news. Sony Interactive Entertainment has announced a launch date and pricing details for PS5's DualSense Edge controller. The customizable controller will launch globally on January 26, 2023, with a recommended retail price, Steve. Wait for it.
I'm waiting.
£209.99. Right, videogameschronicle.com, Tom Ivan. The replaceable stick modules will be released on the same date, priced at $19.99. Pounds, dollars, and €24.99. I mean, that's showing faith in your controller, isn't it? If you're immediately releasing replacement sticks.
I mean, for real. And also, sorry, 200 What?
£209.99 for a DualSense Edge controller. Sony is all in the US, UK, France, Germany, Netherlands, Belgium, Luxembourg. The DualSense Edge wireless controller and replaceable stick modules will be able for pre-order only through PlayStation Direct, beginning on October 25th, which is Tuesday.
Okay, why?
Sony
What's so good about it?
Well, Sony. Let me tell you what's in the box first.
Okay, fine. For
£209.99. In the box, DualSense Edge wireless controller. You'd effing hope so. And I'd also hope for about 150 quid to be in the box as well. USB braided cable, 2 standard caps, 2 high dome caps, 2 low dome caps, 2 half dome back buttons.
Wait. What
2
caps?
lever back buttons. Well, you got your high dome, your low dome, and your half dome, Steve. I don't know how seriously you take playing on the PlayStation 5, Steve. But these guys do for £209.
No, I genuinely don't know what that means. What does that mean?
I don't know either.
It's something for the sticks, right? Like something you put on the sticks to make you better at FIFA.
Makes you a bit better at Call of Duty, doesn't it? There's a quote here. The DualSense Edge wireless controller features a host of hardware and software-based personalization options, including button remapping, £209, the ability to fine-tune sticks and sensitivity and triggers, £209, options to swap between multiple control profiles, £209, and a unique on-controller user interface, £209, said Sony on the PlayStation blog. It also sports the signature comfort and immersive features of the DualSense wireless controller, which isn't £209, like haptic feedback and adaptive triggers. There you go. It clarifies, Steve. You can make the DualSense Edge wireless controller uniquely yours.
I mean, I imagine only one person's going to buy it at 209 quid, so it will be.
Blimey. With the included 3 changeable sets of stick caps.
That's what the caps are. Okay. How much is a controller?
50, I believe they're about £54.99.
Oh, are you kidding me? So this is 160 quid more, 155 quid more. That's insane. But I guess it's called Edge for a reason, right? It's meant to give you the edge over people who you are fighting online. And if you believe that, maybe you will believe that you should pay 210 quid for it.
It's a cost of living crisis. People are choosing between heating, eating, and a DualSense Edge controller.
Well, I was going to ask you, how much do you think that is in dollars? But then I decided I might not want to know.
No, they do. It's $199 USD.
Yeah, I was going to say. So, ouch. So who do we blame this on? Sony or the UK government? Bit of both,
for bringing
really.
Out a controller that costs £210 to play FIFA on?
Well, if it was still, $1.4 to the pound, it'd be about 160 quid, wouldn't it?
I mean, even then, that's still too much.
It's too much, isn't it? So we'll blame Sony. That's fine.
Yeah. Have you?
Cool.
I take it. Despite all the cash that you've got, Steve, that you've not splashed out on the Xbox controller. That's what's that one called? That's that's £200 as well.
I have not.
The Elite controller. That's what it is, isn't it?
But they did try and sell me a boiler Edge, with special caps on the heating controls. I'm still using my. So I play most of my games on a PC, and I'm still using my controller from. I think it's from the Xbox One. Xbox One. Which is
right, yeah, not. I was going to say not the massive original.
No, not the Xbox One. No,
yeah.
But it's basically the same as the one that came out after that. It's a similar thing, and it works fine on everything apparently, apart from FIFA, which is still giving me grief for using it. I have thought about upgrading, but never really seen the need.
Would you be you strike me as a dome half kind of guy.
Yeah, I am. I can't decide one way or the other, so I stick in the middle, half dome. You're never sure, are you? What's it do?
Let's never find out. The improvements made to Pilot Wings 64's frame rate on Switch Online have reportedly broken its most relaxing stage. Writes videogameschronicle.com. Chris Scullion. The classic N64 game has a bonus Birdman stage in which the player wears a large pair of wings and can fly around the island. This stage is supposed to be a gentle and relaxing level where the player can chill out and take photos of the scenery. However, as Daku Daku founder Rod Broadbent has shown on Twitter, the emulated version of the game on Switch Online makes the Birdman stage significantly more stressful. Broadbent, who previously worked as a programmer on the likes of Fable and Star Fox Command, as well as designer on the Pixel Junk shooter games, posted a video showing him playing Birdman stage on original N64 hardware and then on Switch Online. On the original hardware, the Birdman flaps his wings as he should, with occasional pushes of the A button making him flap his wings. On the Switch Online version, however, Broadbent has to bash the A button repeatedly to flap. And it still isn't anywhere near enough to stop the Birdman crashing into a building. Broadbent believes that this is due to the Switch version's increased frame rate, which in any other situation would be considered a positive change. According to Broadbent, the wing flaps in Pilot 64 are tied to the frame rate, which he says was a common programming technique at the time. Speaking to VGC, Broadbent explained in more detail. According to his explanation, the game counts the frames that elapse after each button press, and flapping faster, i.e. flapping with fewer frames between presses, leads to harder flaps. Because the game now runs at 60 frames per second, the number of frames between each press is greater, and as such, the game thinks more time has elapsed between presses, making the flaps weaker. A lot of this story is repeating itself, isn't it?
It's weird that.
Yeah. Must be getting the freelance rates there, paid by the word, I'd say. So that's an unexpected consequence of bringing back some old favourites on modern hardware, HD.
Well, it's an unexpected consequence. It's not news to me, though, Simon, because when you started that news story, I was like, oh, my friend Rod, he saw that. Friend of the show, Rod. And then it turns out the story is about Rod.
Like, Rod.
Unbelievable. He's been a friend of the show since the earliest days. And I've got some news about him, Simon.
Oh, so what news in the news section?
Well, it was news I was going to talk to you about off air, but since we're here, it's come up naturally, might as well. He wants us to come to Japan to do karaoke in Kyoto.
I want us to come to Japan.
Okay, and
good.
when I say he wants us to do that, I said, do you want us to do that? And he said yes. So that's, it wasn't unprompted. In fact, it was very much prompted. But he suggested January, when our friends Chiverches are out there, or March after GDC.
Okay, and what's wrong with both?
Yeah, and that's why I chased up with our mutual friend David McCarthy and received the sort of response that I entirely expected, which was I don't know how to do that. Anyway, I'm annoyed about something else. But yeah, I'd love to go out to do karaoke.
I was going to ask what is he annoyed about, but then I just remembered what he was annoyed about. I don't know why he reads that website. I don't know why he does it.
Yeah, so we'll return to the news story in a moment. But yes, let's work out how we get over to Japan and hang out with Rod, who is instrumental in this news story.
Wow,
and do karaoke.
Let's go over to verify his flaps, the speed of his flaps.
It did use the word flaps a lot.
It did a lot, didn't it? Yeah, it did.
Interesting. Do you think that one assumes that it's a pretty obvious thing to notice if you test that, and really, some testers should have noticed that. But if it's a stage that unlocks near the end of the game for relaxed play, maybe it's slipped through the net somehow.
It doesn't need checking, is what they said, as they waved it through. And somebody should have noticed that they were waving slightly more frantically than they should have been doing.
Very good. All right.
Microsoft's entry-level console, Xbox Series S, is limiting the potential of new-gen games, a developer at indie studio Bossa Studios has argued. VFX artist Ian McClure made the claim on Twitter in response to a comment from veteran games journalist Jeff Gersman, who said he thinks the whole Series S is holding back next-gen games argument doesn't hold up. Most of these games also come to PC and have to cover a wide variety of configs, Gersman pointed out. McClure, who worked on last year's Xbox Series XS and PC game Iron Fish at Bossa, which also develops and publishes the Surgeon Simulator series, responded. It might sound broken, but the reason you're hearing it a lot right now is because many developers have been sitting in meetings for the past year, desperately trying to get Series S launch requirements dropped. Studios have been through one development cycle where Series S turned out to be an albatross around the neck of production, and now that games are firmly being developed with new consoles in mind, teams do not want to repeat that process, added McClure, whose tweets were publicly available earlier today, but have since been protected so that only approved followers can see them. In a series of since-deleted tweets last week, which were initially sparked by the news that Gotham Knights won't have performance options on consoles and runs at 30 FPS, Rocksteady senior character technical artist Lee Devenold also claimed that trade-offs needed to be made because of Xbox Series S. I wish gamers understood what 60 FPS means in terms of all the things they lose to make the game run fast, he said via Game Rant, especially taking into account that we have a current-gen console that's not much better than a last-gen one. Responding to a question about hardware bottleneck, he singled out the Xbox Series S GPU, noting that multi-platform games need to optimize for the lowest performer. He went on to claim there's an entire generation of games hamstrung by that potato, because Microsoft insists that games are released on both Xbox Series S and the relatively powerful Xbox Series X. Writes VideoGamesChronicle.com. That was Tom Ivans. So,
how do you get hamstrung by a potato?
You've got to be, I know, you've got to watch out for that.
Okay. All right, I will do from now on.
You've got to lift your feet higher.
I saw that Gotham Knights guy getting piled on Twitter for saying something that absolutely, for anyone in the games industry, makes sense. It is completely true that if you want more than 30 frames a second, you have to make sacrifices. Obviously, that just makes sense. Not to anyone in his Twitter mentions it didn't. Pretty much everyone was just going, just do your job. Stop making excuses. Well, yeah, it is his job. He knows how to do it.
Well, and surely, those guys made a pretty big sacrifice by killing Batman, and they still couldn't get 60 FPS. What more do you want, gamers?
Yeah. I'm not sure that his tweets were deleted or his account was locked, but I wouldn't be surprised because, once again, the very worst people in the mentions were doing that thing where they reply and CC Rocksteady and go, what do you think of your employee, saying this about gamers? I, for one, will never buy a game without Batman in it from you guys, or whatever. So didn't give me a huge amount of love for the gamer ecosystem following that story.
You don't deserve 60 FPS.
I don't. How do you feel about frame rate, Simon? Do you care about things being 60 FPS?
Well, I don't want to become a PC borsty, but actually, I don't care about 60 FPS. I do care about 40.
Why?
Because it's much better than 30. The thing is, when you play in 60, it's quite hard to go back to 30. And actually, a lot of the Switch ports from consoles and PC to consoles, obviously the Switch is a console, but from static consoles, should we call them, often sacrifice FPS. And it does, once you have experienced of it. And anyway, the sweet spot for me is 40 FPS, because that's does enable you to get some increased visual fidelity without sacrificing too much in order to get smooth.
I've never heard of 40 FPS in my life.
Oh, Steve, it's a big thing on the deck for us deck users. Yeah. It's so big. Yeah, and actually, Gotham Knights, which I won't be reviewing this week, despite the fact I did start playing it. Batman's dead, Steve.
Spoilers.
It's about a 20-minute cutscene at start, and Batman's dead. And yet, all the while, you're sat there watching Batman die, and all the while you're going, he isn't, though, is he? He isn't. Something's going to happen at the end of this, and he isn't dead, is he?
No.
Come on. It's almost as if the Steam Deck's winking at you. Batman's dead. Just a little wink. No, he's dead. And that's why you can't be him now. You've got to be the other one. You've got to be the other guys. Because Batman's dead. Is he? It doesn't run very well on the Steam Deck at all, and so it only. So I'm going to stop playing it for a bit until they hopefully patch in some performance. But yeah, I'm playing Uncharted on 40 FPS, and It also prolongs the battery life as well on the Steam Deck. So,
how do you know you're playing it on 40 FPS?
Steve, because you hit the right hardware button, and you put show frame rate yes or no, or you can limit it in the at the system level to be 40 frames per second as well. Come on! Hop on over to the subreddit, Steve. It's really interesting. I was going to say,
this sounds like something you've read on the internet, and you've decided you're going to believe this.
No, I do it. And I'm quite happy with 40 FPS.
I know you do it. I know you're happy, and that's great.
Bury me in 40 FPS, Steve.
All right, news story 4.
Warner Bros. Games has announced Mortal Kombat Onslaught, a new mobile entry in the long-running fighting game series. I'm going to pause this news story here for you, Steve. Just ask you now, this is videogameschronicle.com, Tom Ivan. So the news is Mortal Kombat's coming to mobile, a new mobile entry. Mortal Kombat, Steve. Warner Brothers has said Mortal Kombat's coming to mobile. What is it? What game is it? What sort of game is it?
Well, I assume it's a card collecting, fighting, gacha-based game for whales. Is that right?
It's a collection RPG. You're absolutely right.
There we go. Fantastic. That's what all the Mortal Kombat fans have wanted, isn't it? That's
if only they're saying, as they're pulling off their finishing moves, if only they're saying this was a collectible RPG with presumably gacha mechanics as well.
Oh, man.
Yeah. There we go.
Well, that's dismal, isn't it?
They say, Ed Boon says, we're pushing the boundaries of Mortal Kombat to allow players to experience the franchise in new ways. While still staying true. That's also not true, is it? They're pushing the boundaries of monetization while still staying true to its core visceral nature. With Mortal Kombat Onslaught, we reimagine Mortal Kombat into a strategic team-based collection RPG. Fast-paced group melee combat that both new and existing fans can enjoy.
How do you think that reimagining worked? Just like in a hammock, somewhere beautiful, just lying there near the beach, maybe blue skies, just thinking, what could Mortal Kombat be? And drift off into a sleep, and these beautiful thoughts swim into your head of an RPG card game.
Dare to dream, Ed Boon. Dare to dream. There we go. Looking forward to that. It's 2023.
Good.
That's it for your news, Steve.
Well, there have been a few other stories. Maybe we can talk about Silent Hill later.
Oh, well, I meant to ask you that, actually, because we were able to trail the fact that there were a lot of Silent Hill announcements coming. I could not tell you what any of them were.
All right, let's investigate that later in the show. But until then, thank you, Simon.
One Life Left video game news with Anne Scantleberry.
You're listening to One Life Left on Resonance 104.4 FM. We're a video game radio show. We've been broadcasting for 16 or 17 or 18 years, something ridiculous, on the best radio station in the world. We're also a podcast. You can find our podcast at www.onelifeleft.com. There you will find the show notes written by our undercaretaker, Phil, who's also producing the show right now. Apparently he can adjust your mic, Simon.
Shut up! Can we get him on? Can we get him in?
I don't know how that. I don't know if that's possible. I don't know
Phil,
how you do that.
Phil, unmute your mic. Unmute your mic, Phil. Come on, join us.
He's set to be a producer at the moment. I don't know.
Well, hang on. Yeah, but his mic's mute. I think. Here he goes. Phil, are you there? He is here.
Oh my goodness!
It's super special guest, Phil, producer. Hello, Phil.
Good grief!
Look at you. You're live on the show. Please do not swear. How do you feel? Can we have a quick mid-show review, please? How do you feel this one's going?
Solid 7 out of 10.
Okay.
That's what we wanted to hear. That's what we wanted to hear.
Phil, I was chatting to Sam, our pickaxe producer,
Which one?
week. Well,
there are a number of Sams.
Oh, the second Sam.
Right, yeah. The new one, or newish.
The new one. Well, exactly. The new, and you would imagine, enthusiastic producer right? I found myself on a call with him. It was just me and him at the start, and so I was just trying to fill. I'm one of these people that that will talk over silence, and so I was like, "Oh, you're our new producer, aren't you?" And he said, "Yeah, that's how's it going?" He said, "Yeah, fine." I said, "Do you listen to it all?" He went, "Oh no, that's our producer." That's why dreadful.
They started asking me to do the audio clips for social media.
Are you joking?
Really?
They paid us £4 last month.
But we hardly broadcast, right? Like we
hardly broadcast, but still, I mean, I sent it back to them. Phil, what would you normally be doing on a Sunday night?
It would be around this time. I'd be stuck in 5-year-old's bedtime. But my missus is doing that right now. So
thank you, Mrs. Phil.
Yeah, thank you, Rebecca. And then I don't know. It'd be watching telly.
Nice.
I think.
Good. Actually, on that subject, Phil, can you see us?
Yes.
Oh,
is this the first time you've seen the shed?
Yeah, I'm wondering what's the heating like in there, seeing as you just got a t-shirt on. It must be decent insulation going on there.
It is decent insulation. I can tell you what the heating's like. It's 19.9 degrees, and it's 70% relative humidity. That's what it is. I bought that.
Family's holding up a gadget that has the temperature and humidity on.
For such questions, you can't catch me out, Phil.
I've got a horrible thought. Am I actually being recorded, or are you just hearing me? So anybody listening to this might just hear silence.
No, they will.
Very good point. Very good point. Well, we'll find out, won't we?
When there's 8 minutes of music.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I bet you better go then, just in case there's no show from now on.
Well, that's fine. I know where I'm not.
Thank you for. No, you're very much wanted. You're very much appreciated. Actually,
Yeah.
we're very grateful for the work you do. Thank you very much.
You're more than
And
welcome.
thank you so much for being our first guest as well on this new era.
You almost had one of my cats as well, but he ran off. So yeah.
Well, let's save the cat for next week.
No problems.
Thanks, Phil.
All right, thanks, Phil.
Yes.
There we go. Well, I think now it's time for the letters.
Email, messages, and forward BCC. One life letters.
Chris Conroy wrote, "The loneliness of the long distance gamer. Dear team and SSG." He says in brackets, "It's getting closer, I can feel it." Well, you've just had it, Chris. He writes, "I've not had a lot of free time of late, as somewhat optimistically I signed up to run the Dublin Marathon, and it turns out that training for an event like this consumes literally all of the hours that are available outside of work and eating. 7 out of 10 would marginally recommend for anyone 20 years my junior and with fewer life obligations. I've even run out of time to do any kind of fundraising, but if anyone wants to make something positive of my suffering, then please feel free to send something to the lovely people at specialeffect.org.uk with my gratitude. What's the biggest games marathon you've ever done? I once had a full bank holiday weekend on Dark Age of Camelot that started on the Friday afternoon and finished late on the Monday night. And after years in thrall to the game, I barely touched it after that. Your Chafing and Calluses correspondent, Chris Conroy. It's the longest you've played something for, Steve.
Good question. I remember being absolutely obsessed with Final Fantasy VII when that came out, and committed again unbelievably to Final Fantasy Tactics, addicted in a way that was just not healthy, and also at the end left me thinking, what on earth had I spent all of that time on? But the answer, and I've definitely mentioned this on the show before as well, is Advance Wars, a game so compulsive that I remember sitting on the circle line in London back in the days when it was an actual circle, and doing another full lap of it to get to my destination after I'd missed it by one stop because I was so compelled. I would also say that, recently I've been burning far too much time on the New York Times crossword, a thing that I know from the One Life Left Discord that Chris does as well. My 16-day streak broken today by a monstrous Sunday challenge. What about you, Simon?
It's been a long time since I've been able to invest continual time into something. I guess the last proper through the night session I remember was with the original Resident Evil, and playing that. I was lodging at the time in East Finchley. I had a tiny bedroom that you could touch all the walls from the bed. That's how small it was. £250 a month that was back then, and I was playing Resident Evil, and I played it through the night. And there were moments when I just thought, "What you did?" I was genuinely scared. Genuinely scared, but not done that since.
Have you ever got up early to play a video game?
I've got up early to install one these days. You have to do. I'll just get it up now. Yeah, because I want to play it this weekend. No, I don't think I have.
I remember there was a game when I was at school that I was addicted to that I genuinely have never heard anyone else mention, and that's because it was on the Acorn Archimedes, but it was an Elite-like game called Ultra Intelligent Machine. It was set under the ocean, and otherwise was it was essentially the same as Elite. I was addicted to that. I used to get up at much too early and spend an hour or so before school playing that. Yeah, but I don't remember the last time I was so addicted to something that I would play it all the way through the night.
It'd be nice to have again, wouldn't it? Eh?
It would.
to enjoy something.
It'd be nice to have space to do that as well. That's the only letter we've had this week.
Anything on the Discord?
No, absolutely. Well, there's people chatting about video games. There. Ed has done a little review of the Spider game. Surprised at the character stuff being moderately compelling. That's something you presumably agree with, because you very much enjoyed that game, didn't you?
Which one?
The Spider-Man, Sony Spider-Man on PC.
Spider-Man, right. I did.
And Tony Gowland saying that he has tried the Marvel Snap game, and it is an exhausting free-to-play mobile game with badges and alerts and pop-ups and barking tutorials. That, I guess, is something that will apply to the new Mortal Kombat game as well.
Let's talk about this later, Steve.
All right. If you have anything you would like to ask us or write to us about, just tell the world. You can do so by emailing
team@onelifeleft.com
or dropping a note on our Discord in the mailbag channel. You can find our Discord address in the show notes at www.onelifeleft.com.
We're getting good use out of those again now, aren't we?
We are. The idents
aren't we?
Back. Still haven't said anything funny enough for us to be able to use the laughter sound effects this week. Or even, I found this one as well.
What, for when we start juggling? What?
No.
What?
Just in case you're going to say, "Oh, here's an important announcement."
That's embarking on a tightrope. That is an announcement.
Well, if we have something, if we ever have something to announce, this week we made £6, something like that. I don't know. Maybe we should do that every month. Announce the amount of money we've made.
Well,
we'll use the drum roll.
We should get a till sound effect as we rack it up.
We can do that. There's one called There's one. What's this one do? Useful. All right. The software's behaving this week, and I think that we're sort of easing into this. Really, really nice as well to have a guest soon. We may have had a guest today, or I may have had to cut that out if it hasn't worked. But we should be able to do that. Felt really good to have Phil on the show for a second.
Just popping round for a cuppa.
If that's worked, we should have a producer segment, shouldn't we, from now on?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Where you could just coach us. So when you say that, so has he been adjusting my microphone?
I don't know. I've no idea. I just saw that he said he could, which there's a certain
got the
level of power there.
He has got the power.
He has got the power. So we said we were going to talk about the new Silent Hills.
We did say that, didn't we?
We did, and you said that you had something to say about it.
I didn't. I said that I saw that. So they made loads of announcements, which I read.
Yeah.
or scrolled past, and none of them registered whatsoever. I saw one as being published by Annapurna, and that was the only thing that I can tell you about. No Code are making that one, aren't they?
All right. I've got a list here, Simon, so I can take you through it, and you can tell us how interested you are in each of these things.
I will honestly start doing something else while you lead this this list out.
All right. So the headline is Silent Hill 2, which I think inside the Silent Hill community is known as the good one. That's being remade by Bloober Team, the developers of Layers of Fear. There was a trailer that dropped for that as well. It's running on Unreal Engine 5 and it's a PlayStation 5 console exclusive. It's also confirmed as coming to PC, i.e. your Steam Deck. How excited are you for that, Simon?
I was about to interject and say, do you have a yawn sound effect?
Have you never played Silent Hill 2?
No, that's a series that's absolutely passed me by.
Okay, well, this is going to be good then. This this segment, isn't it? I think Silent Hill 2 is the good one. It's enjoyable and stylish as well.
Well, and am I getting this wrong? Didn't they? It's a game with lots of fog in it, isn't it? Because it was at the time that it was made, you had to have fog in 3D games because the sort of graphical prowess of these consoles at the time couldn't render much, and so they made something out of the fog. Is that right?
That is right, but it doesn't mean fog is a bad idea in itself. Like fog, just because it was technically useful for the game doesn't invalidate the idea of having fog in a horror movie or game, right?
Yeah, but if you don't need to have it now because you've got super powerful graphics cards, then you just get rid of the fog.
If you can turn the brightness up, if you can just, why not have every single enemy just shouting a bit louder, saying, I'm coming around the corner.
Now, so here's a question on these types of games then. Mm-hmm. Do you tell the truth when asked to do the brightness test?
Absolutely not. And this
don't, do you?
No, 100%. I did part of that in my talk in Croatia this year. Screen contrast, poor or unpredictable contrast on modern TVs is killing the games industry, I said. Because, who tells the truth? You see that thing and you're like, yeah, I know what you're trying to do. And I have no interest in your adolescent jump scares. I'm going to turn it up a few notches than you expect.
Exactly. No, sorry, and by you, I didn't mean just you. I meant people.
Yeah.
Shall I tell you the other thing I saw in a menu? It was in Gotham Knights, which I've never seen before.
Right.
So in the accessibility options, as I was trying to get my FPSs up to 40, there is one that you can turn off that says "Sell my personal data." Oh yeah, I like that. I know. I like you to sell my personal data. That's what it says.
But that's kind of disarmingly honest, isn't it? Because
I've never seen that before.
Usually it would be couched in a different kind of language, like
it'd be in a EULA, wouldn't it? Yeah, scroll, accept. Turn off, sell my personal data.
Or like just a soft plea saying, giving us your data allows us to tailor experiences with partners that we love and trust. Will you please allow us to do that? I was just like, go on, do you want us to hawk your data for a few quid?
I want to know what they've got on me. I've only played it for an hour or so. What do they know?
All right, second game, Silent Hill Townfall is a new game from the makers of Observation. Silent Hill Townfall is a brand new game set in the world of Silent Hill. It's being published by Annapurna, and it's being developed by No Code, who are the makers of Stories Untold and Observation. How interested in that are you, Simon?
Well, I know the No Code guys. I say know them. So I had a curry with them a couple of years ago. Well, it's probably longer than that, actually, wasn't it? Given COVID. Yeah, I don't know. I probably went to school with them. No, and they were lovely, and so I would go and say hello to, and I do like their games, so I was interested in that.
Yes, I'm super excited by that. Those games, Stories Untold is great. Observation is brilliant too, and I do think the idea of a psychological horror game. Well, obviously, it's one that video games have explored for decades, since before Silent Hill. But I think the treatment, it all depends on the treatment, right? There are a billion of these things on itch, and most of them are rubbish, but some of them are good. And I think you give this setting to the right team, they can make something special. So I'm excited about that as well. Return to Silent Hill is a sequel to the 2006 movie. This isn't a video game, Simon. Have you seen the 2006 movie?
I am now checking in on my daughter. I'm doing something else while you talk about this.
Right, so not excited at all. But this one, you must be excited by. Silent Hill Ascension is an interactive video streaming experience. It's described as a new kind of Silent Hill, and it's being developed by Genvid, but also J.J. Abrams' Bad Robot and Dead by Daylight developers Behaviour Interactive. You must be excited by J.J. Abrams, Simon.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So
I'm telling my daughter's not asleep.
Live streamed interactive stories where the audience watching can affect the story and the world. Excited about that? No, not at all.
No, so it's an FMV.
Maybe FMV. I'm imagining FMV, but with choices that we all vote on, and then that changes the next sequence, perhaps.
Cool.
Yep. And finally, Silent Hill F, a new 1960s set horror game. This was the last thing in the stream and showed a young Japanese schoolgirl being transported to a dream world and then her whole face peeling off.
Who asked for this? Did anyone ask for this?
I mean, is that typically how the development process works? Like publishers just go through letters from the public and go, "Oh yeah, this one sounds good. I'll, someone just had an idea." How do you fancy this?
Right. I don't fancy any of that whatsoever. No.
All right, good to know. Okay, is it time for the reviews? Is it time for the reviews?
My silence was expecting you to push the review theme.
It was a question. It wasn't a statement.
Yeah, I mean, if we were in the studio together, I feel that we would have got away with that one. But as it is, it's become a bit awkward now, isn't it? And I was going to say, if I was you, I would never have pushed the review button.
It's time for the reviews. What have you been playing this week, Simon?
A couple of things for me this week, Steve.
Good.
And in your face, Tony Gowland, let me tell you, I am collection level 85. And I've completed both bits of the season pass on Marvel Snap.
Why are you doing this?
Well, I didn't know much about it, and before it launched, but I saw it launch on PC and I saw it launch on mobile. Apparently, I pre-registered for it because that's the sort of thing I idly do whilst browsing the Google Play Store. Congratulations, it's now ready to download. We all like a card game, don't we? Particularly, one that's based on Marvel superheroes. We all enjoyed Dice Masters, didn't we? Which is cards and dice.
We all enjoy a card game, but we also all know what these card games are like and what they're designed to make you do.
Well, Steve, let me tell you the premise of Marvel Snap.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you can understand why it might have appealed to me. Okay? Two players face off opposite each other. You have in your hand cards that you've constructed. I think it's 16 cards that you build a deck of, that are various Marvel characters. And there are 3 stations in the middle of the table, okay? And what you do is you alternate putting cards down in front of one of those 3 stations, and at the end of it, the highest scoring on those 3 stations, if you score, each card has a value and they affect each other. And at the end of when you've played all of your cards, if you have the most points in one station, you win that station. And then the second station and the third station. Mm-hmm. If you win 2 out of 3, then you've won the game.
Okay.
Steve, does that mechanic remind you of anything?
I mean, I feel like you're leading me in to say Card Fighters Clash.
I'm not.
Okay, fine.
Did I make Card Fighters Clash?
Oh, right. It reminds me of Greedy Wizards.
It's literally Greedy Wizards. It's literally, you put numbers down on. It's literally Greedy Wizards.
It is Greedy Wizards. It is Greedy Wizards.
It is Greedy Wizards.
I'd forgotten about Greedy Wizards. And maybe someone there has as well, and they woke up one day and they're like, I've had a brilliant idea for a video game. It's Greedy Wizards.
It's Greedy Wizards. I mean, there's slightly more to it than that, but the similarities, Steve. If I had a lawyer, some money,
and a leg to stand on,
exactly. But it's actually good. So you play well. Me and Jazz Rignall were talking about this over Twitter because he's gone into it as well. I suspect that your early games are played against bots because it took me a while to lose them. But anyway, as the man who invented Greedy Wizards, unsurprisingly, I'm very good at this, and I win far more games than I lose. And what's interesting is, as you unlock cards that you can then add to your deck, you need to refine your deck because you can't have more than one type. So you can only have one Hulk, Steve. You can't have two Hulks in there, for example. And the Hulk can cost 6 energy, and other bits and bobs. And the other thing is that the middle cards change scenarios, so they can impact how some of the cards are. Anyway, so it builds upon the very solid foundations of Greedy Wizards. And adds superheroes and makes it a mobile free-to-play game. It's good. It's good. I've been playing it. I've got a week's worth of rewards for logging in. Let me tell you that. And I'm enjoying it greatly. To pass the odd 5 minutes here and there, 7 out of 10.
But I can't imagine ever getting into something like that as nice as the core mechanic is at the start, because I know it'll have been designed around persuading you, separating you from your money. It's not designed to be fun, it's designed to be compulsive and to usher you to a point, to tease you to a point where you're like, oh, well, my sunk cost in terms of time is so much that I'm going to spend so much money.
These cards I've got.
Oh, they are nice.
All of those.
They are nice.
And look, though, if you look at the Punisher, for example, that's been upgraded 3 times, so it's 3D and it animates. And that one, you get an extra 1 power for each opposing card at this location.
I'm out.
I mean, come on.
All right. I'll review something. So I've been playing a few games this week. I started playing No More Heroes 3, and I stopped pretty quickly because as much as I love... It's been so long since I've played a game that feels culturally Japanese, like all the games I used to play in the early 2000s. This absolutely does. It's by Grasshopper Interactive, published by Marvelous. It feels so Japanese, and it feels so exuberant and fun and stupid, and I enjoyed it, but it's just boss battles in it, and I can't stand boss battles, so I dropped out of that after I got to the first boss battle and lost 7 out of 10. I played a lot more FIFA, as I'm sure you have observed. But I played a small indie game called Whatever. Do you know about Whatever?
I don't, Steve.
So Whatever is a brilliant premise that I wish I had thought of and made me laugh out loud as soon as I saw a trailer for it. It's based around... Do you remember the incident in March 2021 with the Ever Given?
I do not know.
The ship that got trapped in the Suez Canal.
Oh, right. Yes. Yeah.
So, imagine a game where you are racing a container ship along a Suez Canal, or a canal, and you have to not get stuck at the sides, but at the same time you might collect coins and that kind of thing, which you use to upgrade your ship at the end of your run. And then imagine it plays out at the kind of pace that you would imagine one of those ships to move at, so glacially slow. But it is driven by an analogue to, I forgot what his name is, Dom Toretto, the Fast and the Furious guy. So it begins with an intro. And so it's basically Fast and the Furious drifting mixed with very, very, very slow-paced action, moving down a canal and not getting caught on the sides. It is dumb and stupid, and the premise is slightly better than the actual game, right? It's not actually a tremendous amount of fun. It's quite frustrating, but it is funny, which often is enough. As I said, it's got this loop where you collect coins, upgrade your ship. There's loads and loads of levels, different challenges on each one. I just got to the 4th one, I think, before I got bored. Which is kind of like a mystical graveyard canal full of eddy vortex type things. And it's funny and sort of enjoyable. 7 out of 10.
I've also been rinsing through Uncharted on PC, Steam Deck, 40 FPS. A game which I thought I'd started a couple of times, and I'm enjoying. Right, it's spectacular. Yes, it's 100% mainstream. Disposable. Not doing anything particularly clever, but technically it's incredibly impressive. Anyway, I'm on chapter 12 now, and I still haven't got to the car chase. And so I've played all of this before. I remember none of it. As soon as I realised that, I'm like, God, maybe this isn't as good as.
Well, isn't that the point?
I'm enjoying it. It's just instantly forgettable.
You remember three not cutscenes. What do you call it? Like the sort of major set pieces. You remember 3 set pieces, just like you do from any movie like that. You remember 3 set pieces, but the difference is the 3 set pieces in the movie are like 20 minutes of 2 hours. The 3 set pieces in a game are 40 minutes of 12 hours, and so there's an awful lot of padding around these things. 7.
So it's just I've just been surprised by that. I haven't got to a new bit of game yet, and yet I'm still. It's as if most of it I'm seeing for the first time. 7 out of 10.
I've also been playing The Case of the Golden Idol. Have you heard of that?
I have heard of this. Yes.
Yeah, it's a nicely produced, visually distinctive detective game where you look at scenes and you click on objects and they tell you a bit about what's going on, and then you have to fill in the gaps paragraph of text to tell the game you understand what's happened in this scene. So you have to explain which characters are visible here, what their names are, what they're trying to do, what their motivation was. It's a really nice mechanic, I think. Like, just play at your own pace. What I really enjoy about it is there's an option early on where you can either say, I don't mind pixel hunting, so scanning over every scene and going, oh, that book might be interactive, I'll click on that. Or you can just have little highlights on everything that matters, so you know straight away, I'll click on that, find out about it. Obviously, I turn that on because life is too short. And played through the first chapter and really, really enjoyed my time with it. I will go back to that as well. Thoroughly recommended, 7 out of 10. And I played more FIFA. I turned the difficulty up from, I don't know what I was on before, semi-pro. I think I was on semi-pro and I was winning everything easily, and I turned it up to world class, and now I lose everything by 1 goal and Alt F4 out, and then start it up again quarter of an hour later when I'm like, okay, fine. But I think it's an absolute miracle. Like, I think the game is really, really well produced, and I think it's cynically produced in some respects, but the actual football elements, once you've got rid of the fact that once you've got used to the fact that you have to press a billion times in a billion different ways to start a match, and once you've got used to the fact that it always wants you to be online, it's always trying to make you play FIFA Ultimate Team. It's incredible that I can play as Stockport County in the Papa John's Trophy. Like,
that's all we've ever dreamed of, isn't it?
It's an absolute
Steve, we're running out of time.
We are again. Okay, thank you so much to everyone for listening. Thank you to Resonance FM for hosting tonight as well. And thank you to you, Simon.
Thanks, Steve.
We'll be back next week. But until then,
goodbye.
Goodbye.